Hello again and welcome to another GCSE Computer Science Theory lesson. This video is going to be on Unit 5, Application Protocols. But before we start, I'm just going to go back to a previous lesson where we talked about the TCP over IP 4-layer model. Now in this video, in that previous video, we talked about the data link layer, the network layer and the transport layer. Now we're right at the top of the model and I'm going to talk about the application layer. So going back to where we were, okay, so application protocols. So we'll start off with HTTP, then I'll talk about HTTPS, FTP, SMTP, and then finally IMAP or POP. So HTTPS, you might have seen this when you were browsing the web. You might have seen a little icon for it in the top of your web browser. So HTTP, so regular HTTP without the S on it, is for regular web pages. So just browsing the web, looking at things. HTTPS is like HTTP, but with a little bit of security on there. So this is for browsing secure websites, such as online banking or anywhere where you're going to be logging in with some kind of password. The reason why HTTPS is secure is because it uses encryption on the web pages that you are browsing. But also anything that you send to these websites is also encrypted. So when you upload your password to log in, that is going to be encrypted, which is a good thing. Otherwise, that means that other people can read all of the stuff that you're sending out into the internet. So next we're going to talk about the file transfer protocol. It is just for uploading files. So chances are you've already used this protocol before, you just didn't realize it. So whether you're on Facebook uploading a profile picture or whether you're uploading homework to your school's VLE, chances are you are using the FTP protocol for that. You just weren't aware of it. Next we'll talk about the simple mail transfer protocol. So this one is for sending email to an email server. Now this is where things get a bit confusing because I'm going to talk about IMAP, which is for downloading an email from an email server. Let's look at the subtle differences between these protocols. SMTP is for sending email. This one is for downloading an email. I'll get more into what the difference between these protocols in a moment. And then finally, we're going to talk about something called POP, which is also for downloading email from an email server. At GCSE level, effectively, it does exactly the same thing as IMAP. Now, POP, there are some differences in real life between POP and IMAP, but for the purposes of this GCSE, they effectively do the same thing. Now, at this point, you can stop watching this video because that's everything you need to know about for the GCSE when it comes to application protocols. But if you wanted to understand the difference between SMTP and IMAP in more detail, then carry on watching. So I'm going to go to Microsoft Paint and copy this diagram in. So there we go. Here is my diagram. And as you can see here, we've got a connection here between two mail servers, which uses SMTP. And we've got the POP protocol, which is used for downloading mail from those mail servers. Well, first of all, to understand this, I'm going to talk about the difference between a mail server and a mail client. So a mail client is any software that you can install to your device that allows you to actually read your email or edit email. So something like Gmail for Android, the mail application for iPhone. Microsoft Office has a program in there called Outlook, which can allow you to store your emails on a Windows computer. And if you weren't into Microsoft Office, there is a free alternative called Thunderbird, which is a program for storing your emails on Windows. This also works on Mac and Linux, if I'm not mistaken. And then talking about mail servers, so these are the actual companies that store your mail for you. So for example, somewhere in another country, there's probably a big Microsoft server farm that looks after all your email, and Google and Apple also have similar products available for you. So I just wanted to make the key the key difference between a mail client and a mail server. So the client is the actual software on your smartphone or home PC. The mail server is actually where your mail is saved, the actual service that is provided to you by, for example, Microsoft or Google or Apple. By the way, something to be aware of mail servers, they don't have to be provided by these three big players. There are smaller companies that provide mail servers. Also, companies can actually have their mail servers in their basements. So, for example, schools and small businesses might actually have the mail server situated in their basement. So going back to this model, let's say down here I've got a mail application installed on my smartphone. To read all of my messages, I download it from my mail server. My mail server might be with Gmail, for example. So I use the app on my phone to download all of my messages from Gmail servers. Then if I want to send an email, I actually have to use Google to send, or Gmail to send that message across to another mail server. So let's say I'm sending a mail from a Gmail account to somebody else's account, which is with Microsoft Outlook. Well, that person has to use a mail client, such as Outlook for Microsoft Windows, to download that mail. So there we go, we've got POP that communicates between a mail server and a mail client, or IMAP. It doesn't have to be POP, it could be IMAP. And SMTP is the protocol for communicating between mail servers.